Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. You know where you at. You know where you belong. Resurrect inside your sector. Allah mathematics on a 1 and 2. We do this. Today's mathematics is knowledge equality. To know equality, right? To know how to deal equal with people. To know the limitation of things. When you put that knowledge to that equality, you bring forth God. That's that God cipher divine in you that allows you to do what? To be the best you, the supreme you, to be supreme amongst the beings that you be around. That's that knowledge equality. You know, if you take it to your alphabets, that's that letter P. And I want to shout out my brother Power because letter P is for power. You know what I mean? And that power is a magnetic attraction. But anyway, let me get into the show. I got a great show this week. I got some special guests. These guests I got this week, right? They're not like normal guests for me, all right? I got people that's actually, their job is to interview me or interview you. And today, we're going to have a conversation where we're interviewing each other. And I also have another special guest in the building, my homegirl Mimi, who she is, how can I, you know what? I'm going to let you describe yourself because I don't want to start just going into, you know, the martial art magazines and the martial art culture. My brother Gene King, who actually Gene is doing the Dr. Jang books now, right?
Yes, Jang. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I told him to send me the collection. He hasn't sent it to me yet.
I'm going to get on him for that.
Okay. So, Mimi, why don't you introduce yourself and tell the people about you a little bit, then we'll get into our conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, first of all, and RZA. I'm a little bit hoarse from screaming at the concert I just experienced, so I'm going to try to maintain my fangirl for a little bit because I have been following you since the beginning. But yes, I'm Sifu Mimi Chan. I'm the host of the Sifu Mimi Chan podcast. Been doing this for a long time now, but beyond podcasting, my passion and my life is martial arts. I grew up in the martial arts. My father, Grandmaster Pui Chan, is one of the first to start teaching traditional Chinese Kung Fu in the United States on the East Coast. And
Wow.
so really, really excited to talk to you about your martial arts journey because we share this passion and I feel connected to you, not just through hip hop culture, but through martial arts culture and your expertise in that area as well. So for me as a Sifu, I see Kung Fu as hard work. That's what we teach our students. We teach them that Kung Fu means hard work and reaching your potential. And you have Wu-Tang Clan, man, you guys have been doing that work for decades. And that hard work, you've been doing Kung Fu for decades, just literally and figuratively as far as the words go. But I've heard you describe Wu as universal wisdom and a goal so many of us seek through Kung Fu as well. And since beginning, you were passionate about Kung Fu. And I know that you've grown as a martial artist. So how has your journey in Chinese martial arts shaped your music and creative process?
I mean, for me, the process, you look at the word Wu, right? And you'll figure in Chinese philosophy and in Taoist philosophy that everything starts from Wu Qi, right? So Wu Qi means there is no extremity. There's almost like an emptiness, you know what I mean? Like there's not even a circle yet. But then something appears into a singularity form, and then Wu Qi gives birth to Tai Chi, right? And then you get the yin and the yang. So for me, coming across that concept early, probably around the age of 14, the Taoist concept of it, and then, of course, becoming a student of Shaolin and understanding the Buddhist philosophy of it, it motivated me intellectually, psychologically, and creatively, right? So most people think that it's only physical, and they look at the movements, right? And those movements, of course, help build the body, but you got to also look at the mental, the spiritual, the emotional. And so for me, Kung Fu has been all that. Now, you just said something that I think I want to bring back. You said Kung Fu means hard work. Can you share with our audience the literal meaning of Kung Fu?
Sure. So there's always a challenge when we are trying to translate English and Chinese. There's a lot lost in translation. There's so much philosophical and depth to it. But gong and fu, or is like working man, right? And so it also embodies like an expertise and like kind of the the highest level of work. So we kind of see as like working man as hard work, or kind of having that breakdown in terms of the two Chinese characters that come together to kind of culminate to make that kind of philosophy of hard work. So when we think about practicing kung fu, a lot of people think that just means the kicking and the punching in the martial art, but we apply that to even like a master chef, or when you see somebody who is on stage doing some amazing rap Wu-Tang Kung Fu. So we always say, you know what, my father would say, you practice good Kung Fu, and people take that literally, that it is the actual physical martial arts, but really philosophically, it's that work ethic and being able to kind of master and become an expert in that.
Well, Sifu Mimi, thank you for sharing that, because that's been my avocation. I've been advocating that. That's been my understanding of it. Of course, I studied some of Dr. Yang books as a kid. Dr. Yang out of Boston, who, he helped translate a lot of the Tai Chi books. He translated the White Crane form. He translated Shaolin Long Fist, and so many books, right? But I came across that reading one of his books that, Kung Fu, it just means work, right? A man that's working. And so I took that and was like, of course I love the moves, I love the forms and all the different styles, but I said I can become a Kung Fu master by applying that principle to whatever I do, right? So whether I'm working on my piano, working on making my beats, or working on writing my lyrics, or, because I'm a guy that just sit there and bang his hand on cement like 1,000 times trying to get iron palmed, didn't work. Right, but I still got calluses.
The blisters, yeah, you got the calluses. All right.
So, but still, that's work, right? First of all, you said something about your father,
Grandmaster Pui Chan.
Yeah, Grandmaster Pui Chan. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay, I pronounce everything so crazy.
You're
my
good.
New York accent, But what form did he teach?
So he teaches a northern praying mantis style that is also mixed with his master's family style, so which is the tam toi, which is the strong legs.
Right.
So it is a northern style of kung fu.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So is Hung Gar considered southern or northern?
Hung Gar is southern.
Okay, but it seems like the foundation of Hung Gar, right, that also leads to 7-star, which is still southern mantis.
7-star mantis is southern mantis, correct. And so there's like 12 different mantis styles. A lot of them come from the Shandong region, of course, which is where a lot of the praying mantis masters originated. But yeah, the southern mantis. So it's just a matter of where people immigrated to, moved around, Cultural Revolution, lots of, we could go down a rabbit hole there, but.
But I love that the northern mantis, you're saying that he's doing the mantis, but he's also strengthening the lower part of his body.
Yeah, absolutely. So that combination really makes it very versatile. So we have a lot of like even acrobatic kicks, low sweeps. We have a lot of strong stance work and leg movements in addition to the praying mantis hand techniques.
Right, so that's why I said it has a semblance to Hung Gar, because of the Hung Gar only has low kicks and the strong stances. Yeah, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So Hung Gar, which is really the tiger style, comes from Hung Gar. This is like I remember sampling it from one of the films called Executioners from Shaolin, where they had Priest Pai Mei and Hung Si Quan, and the whole legend of that. And yeah, we sampled that for one of our songs. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Just so you know, I use that, but I have to use the instrumental because, when I'm doing the kung fu, it's kind of a little more appropriate, but it is like my favorite song. And I have often sampled it and utilized it to motivate me for kung fu. I'm curious, would you ever do kind of a all-instrumental Tai Chi track for our internal humans, like something that you think about producing?
Yeah, I felt like I kind of did it. I did an album called Ballet Through Mud.
Okay.
And it was very, I think it's a journey. I think it's a journey of, you could do Tai Chi to it. Mm-hmm. There's a moment where you could actually go into a harder form, whether a mantis form or a tiger crane form. I kind of feel, personally, I feel like I created it for the Kung Fu. And there's even, the drunken style, the drunken god and all that. So I do think that there's one song on the album called Freedom of Movement.
Okay.
where you know how the drunken style he grabs the big barrel and drinks it back.
Yeah.
To me, I actually, when we did the ballet for the audience, I had the dancers emulate that technique.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to see that. So, our generation, speaking of which, grew up on Shaw Brothers films, of course, and you were inspired by Shaolin versus Wu-Tang and created Wu-Tang Clan. And for our listeners that don't know, but the Wu-Tang kind of coming from the Wudong Mountain, which is really indicative of internal arts. We were talking a little bit about your ballet, the ballads, but Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bakwa. This is a very different style. And whereas, example, Shaolin and Wah Lum Kung Fu, which is what I do, are more external art forms. Do you see Wu-Tang Clan more as an internal or external style? And for example, is the RZA of 2025 more Shaolin or Wudong?
Well, actually, I think it's both, right? You know, my Sifu Ming, he took me on a pilgrimage to Shaolin, and he, we talked about the 36 styles, right, or the 36 chambers, let's call it, right? And those are known to be external techniques. But then he said, no, but there's also 36 internal techniques that are not popular or widely known, right? So that's for us to understand that Shaolin does internal and external. And then we went to Wu-Tang Mountain, or Wudong Mountain, pronounced Wu-Tang by the British. And I speak British English, I guess, in my American version. But so we went to Wudong Mountain, and of course, Xingyi was one of the main forms. Xingyi meaning mind form, right? It means the mind form, meaning that you should cultivate your mind to think a certain way, whether it's the way of an element or the way of an animal or the way of a constellation even, to let your chi flow. Of course, Tai Chi as well. But the abbot allowed me to go down to the village and see some of the local schools, and they took me to one of their training places, and they actually was doing a very physical form of Kung Fu, banging their arms against the trees and everything. So, and that's external.
Yes.
So I think that when you look at the yin and yang symbol, you see the dark, but it has a dot of white in it. And then you see the white that has a dark of black in it. So that means at any given moment, you should be able to generate one or the other based on your circumstance. So I would say that fortunately at this physical age of mine and through some of the success I've had in life, I can definitely be more internal, but I'm always prepared for some external shit to jump off, yo.
And I saw you tonight jumping on stage, ready for external, 100%. I know you got to go, so I only have a few more questions. But, because you're so expert at both what you do as a Kung Fu practitioner, both for real and in hip-hop culture, do you see hip-hop lineage forming like a martial arts school, and in meaning that, for me, I am my father's successor, right? So this is our lineage, our family lineage. A lot of martial arts, specifically Chinese Kung Fu, has a lot of lineage in the family, but also can branch out to whoever the disciples get taken in, right? Do you think like hip hop or, rap now is like learning is inspired by Wu-Tang Clan? Do you have what you consider a lineage?
I think definitely Wu-Tang has a lineage, right? Some of that lineage is directly from us, right? So if you go back and you look at some of the so-called early, they call them Wu affiliates, whether it was Killer Army, Sons of Man, Killer Priest, right? But then if you go and you see some of the artists in the industry who are inspired by us, whether it's Kanye West, right? Whether it's Jay-Z, whether it's Pusha T, he heard the Raekwon Purple tape, like, there's so many people that, that Wu-Tang has been inspiration for. But then also going back to the Chinese martial art way of this lineage being something that is identified by a school or identified by a family, I see that happening in hip-hop as well. You see Big Pun, his son is a lyricist. You see Biggie Smalls' daughter, Method Man's daughter, these are lyricists. We see RZAs and I just found out, not too long ago that Coach Contra, some of the hottest young lyricists out there are his sons.
Okay.
So it's happening naturally, right? Where some of us who pioneered hip hop, our children has fallen in love with it, and they're carrying the torch. The ODB son, YDB, is on stage with us.
Yeah.
My son, Prince Rakeem, is that's not his stage name. He has it, but anyway, but Rakeem is he's making banging beats. He put his beats on, and the people are like, "Yo, I got a witness over here." Right, so
Is he running up on you?
he ran up on me twice. But point being made is that I think that hip hop is, in a weird way, following that same tradition.
Yeah. Okay, last question, and it was just inspired by watching the show tonight. You took a lot of energy from the audience. You gave a lot of energy to the audience. You did some qigong on stage, basically. I don't know, the audience knew what was happening, but we took the energy, the negative, and put out the positive. You also talked a lot about gun violence, and I'm also an activist. I'm a social justice activist in the United States, and we are facing a crisis now with education, lack of education, and needing to have more equality and more exposure to. It used to be where martial artists, the culture and the philosophy is that we lift others up that are in need. We help those that need to be helped. And it feels like in the United States right now, the opposite is happening, where the rich are getting richer and they're pulling the ladder up behind them, right? And so I feel like the cycle needs to stop. You talked a lot about that on stage. It was really inspiring to me. It really spoke to me, not just as an activist, but also as a martial artist. How can we motivate people? Because I really believe in also the power of our voices, the power of the people, and that we can come together. How can we motivate people to inspire others to use their voices? Because you inspired me tonight.
Respect. Well, hopefully, you look at the word inspiration and you get the internal spirit making an action, right? You got to put those words together. So hopefully that when we speak, whether it's through music, whether it's through martial art, whether it's through film, somebody gets an internal movement that pushes them to action. And that action, hopefully, is something positive, right, that could cause a change. So a simple positive thing could be even the idea, and this is something that comes from the Holy Quran, the Prophet Muhammad, he said that sometimes the greatest charity is just a smile. And people don't even smile at each other anymore. You know what I mean? So the first step that anybody could do, right, is when you see someone in the elevator, you see your neighbor, or you see someone at the counter at the store, just start with a smile, bro. Ease up, yo. We've been taught, because of capitalism, the word means to capitalize on someone else. But actually, you don't have to capitalize on someone else's failure. You could capitalize on what's internal and inherent within you and find that expression to make it a value. That's what Wu-Tang did. A lot of us were, no disrespect to ourselves, but yeah, we were considered criminals, right? We was considered the ones that would not make it. But we had an art within ourselves, and we put the same time that we was put into bullshit, we put into something positive. In martial art, and in life and in physics, the proton is heavier than the electron. 1,000 times heavier at minimum. So that means that for negative actions, you will get a negative in return, but for a positive action, you get a multiplication of a return. And so hopefully we can inspire people to go for that positive, get that multiplication. Light itself is just photons. It's all positive energy, light from the sun. Of course, light from these bulbs ahead of us is electrons, negative energy, because it's not real. It's like it's forced to be.
Yeah.
So I strive through my music and through words to inspire people to try to strive to be better for themselves first. Be better for yourself. As my Sifu would say, master yourself, right? Become more handsome for yourself, right? And then that radiance will inspire others, but also will multiply yourself.
Well said. And I know you've got to go. You have so much to do after such a long day. You've been touring back to back. Your chi is way up here, man.
Respect.
Much respect. Thank you so much, RZA.
Thank you. So before you go, let's sign off on the radio station.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm gonna bring my brother Will Strickland on next. But before you go, is there any Wu-Tang song you want to hear that you want to request? Just give me your request. Which one you want to hear?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Just give me one.
Cream.
Okay. I want to thank my guest, Sifu Mimi Chan, for popping in. Bong, bong.
Thank you so much. I would have picked the other one, but you already played it.
Wu-Tang
Clan.
And I'm glad you did pick that one.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Oscar.
Hello, Mimi.
All right, Oscar is choosing to go like handheld mic today, kind of like the RZA.
Right, this is in honor of all the rappers.
Well, we just wanted to do a quick wrap-up video to the interview that just played, which was, of course, RZA and I on Wu Wednesday, as well as doubling for the Sifu Mimi Chan show. So that was unexpected and very surprising. And a lot of our listeners and audience have been asking, how did that interview come about? And if it was planned and all of those kind of things. And so we've told the story quite a bit. And I thought you and I could have like a quick wrap up on it.
Right. Well, how did it happen? You asked for it to happen, and it happened. All right, let's wrap it up.
Basically, that's what happened.
I mean, we don't need to, belabor the point. That's it. That's what happened, right?
Essentially. But I think people were wondering if I had met him before or had known him, etc. And I guess the answer to that is definitely no. But it was really exciting leading up to the concert because Oscar and I went up to Canada to visit our cousins for what we consider to be like a little bit of a family reunion, and wanted to kind of shout out to Flores for creating these amazing shirts that you designed and asked for him to make. It is a Run the Jewels / Wu-Tang in honor of Run the Jewels and Wu-Tang initials shirt. And so you'll notice that the letters aren't quite what the Run the Jewels hands are doing, but basically it's symbolic for our group of the cousins that we hang out with in Canada. So shout out, of course, to Tiff and Ken, because we went up to spend time with them and go to this awesome concert together, but also because they are CWMM with us. And we're going to go with it's cousins who make memories because we've been traveling with them for a long time. But Tiff and I kind of go way back. We are considered like kind of twins, and we would spend summers together back and forth growing up, either in Canada or here in Orlando. And we were really excited to just actually share in this concert experience with them because they love hip hop. We love hip hop. And also shout out, thank you for getting B-roll footage and helping kind of make the interview editing process much better because Ken's brother, Kevin, also helped hook us up with microphones for the interview. So shout out to you guys.
So let's talk a little bit about not knowing that there was a Wu-Tang concert. One of your students said, "Oh, I'm going to go see this, Wu-Tang in Tampa. And by the way, the headliner is Run the Jewels." So it just so happens that two
The opener,
really,
yeah.
not the headliner, right? The opener, the headliner is Wu-Tang, obviously, and the opener is Run the Jewels. And just so happens that we love both of those bands, and but weren't willing to make a drive to Tampa because we're like, well, what are you going to drive and then pay for a hotel? That's crazy. Why don't we just fly to Canada and spend a week there and buy tickets for the...
Way easier.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
So
So
much
that's the
easier
reason that
to
happened.
do, definitely. Our student actually being Flores, who made us these shirts, so...
Yeah, so people may or may not know that I don't really get too excited about things. So even okay, we're going to go see Wu-Tang, we're going to see Run the Jewels. I love both of those bands. I love our cousins who are up there. But CWMM, what it truly means, we're not going to get into. But it's something that we've had since 2016. And the four of us have had. And I remember I was driving and I had this vision of, Run the Jewels has that sign with the fist and the gun, right? And then, of course, Wu-Tang has their iconic W. Method Man in his first album had that iconic M where they flipped the W. And I was like, oh, I think we can make something like this. And immediately I was super excited. And I told you, yeah, we could make this CWMM shirt. And actually what I said was like, you know what? Flores can do this, right?
And he did. And he did so
And he
really
did
lovely. So
he did an
we
outstanding
wore
job.
these shirts to the concert, which was super fun, but then at the same time, a little bit awkward in front of the entire Wu-Tang Clan. Backstage, probably like, oh, you guys are like buying bootleg shit. But honestly, if you look, it has nothing to do with actually just rip-off bootlegger stuff. This is very specific to our family, and also because of our love for both Wu-Tang and Run the Jewels. So yeah, we decided to go to Canada for the concert, and the week before, I kind of had this thought of, it's been decades where I think RZA and I have kind of been, ships passing in the night kind of thing. Like we run kind of in the same circles, meaning martial arts wise, like he knows some of the same people that I know. And there's been, actually, I think my parents saw them in China at one point, but I feel like there's been a lot of times where I've wanted to reach out to have a conversation on the intersection of martial arts and hip hop culture, because I feel like there's a lot for us to talk about, but I kind of just tabled it for a multitude of reasons. But really, I just kind of just let it go. And then going to this concert in Canada, I was like, you know what? Let me just reach out. Let me reach out to the team and just see if they would be open to an interview or just a meet and greet to say hello as a fellow martial artist, as somebody who, the RZA, as someone who really respects Chinese and martial arts culture and has, maybe initially started off with this whole like love of Shaw Brothers movies, but has really over the last several decades come to study and be a student of Chinese martial arts, right? Versus just like an admirer of. So I thought this is probably right. The timing is right for us to have a conversation. So I reached out to management team. Shout out to Tamika. Thank you so much to Tam for responding to my email, making that happen. Shout out to Jean Ching from Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine, or now Dr. Yang's publications over on the Tai Chi side. But really, we go way back, and he's interviewed the RZA before, and so kind of said, hey, reach out. You never know. Maybe he'll be available. Maybe he's not. But the concert was. They've been on a really aggressive concert tour because it's just a couple of months, and it was just like back to back to back dates. So I figured there's no way this is happening.
Right. And so, as I said earlier, you asked and it happened. And you got to, it's funny because you think of situations like this. It's like, oh, you know what? We're going to get to go backstage and meet so-and-so famous person. And it just so happened that it's not just that, but that you got to have time to interview him on this special bus called the Lennon Bus. And what strikes me the most is we have to sometimes put on a face of energy when we don't have the energy. But it felt like the RZA was a genuinely kind and decent person and engaging, and still had a lot of energy even after performing. And so I think you think of certain celebrities in whatever culture as having to put on an act, right, for their fans, and it just didn't seem like that was the case with him. And they say don't meet your heroes, but in this case it was kind of nice to meet, like a hip hop hero, right?
Yeah, I will, kind of leading up to it, huge shout out to Slice, by the way. You're my man, like really, really treated us so well. First of all, we get there and we had booked really nice seats in a suite that was kind of up a little bit, where we would be kind of separated, but have like distancing, and just, there was a little bit far from the stage, to be honest, though. When we got up there, we're like, oh, this is really nice, but it was kind of far. And Slice texted me and he's like, left you a Christmas present. These might work out better. And they upgraded our seats to pretty much right by the stage. So we head down to the stage and, of course, experienced the energy of Run the Jewels coming on. I mean, we were so excited. It was like kids in the candy store. And just like, I think one time we talked about our friend who loves Mickey Mouse so much, and Mickey Mouse showed up at their wedding and they were screaming like it was their hero. And we really were excited. The energy down there by the stage, the music, the sound, and just like feeling the artists up on stage, Killer Mike and LP came out like so strong. And then of course Wu-Tang Clan comes on, and it's all of them, everybody, plus a live band. So the concert itself was incredible. And then met up with Slice, who is RZA's assistant, and just like took us backstage, gave us these really dope friends and family wristbands. And we were not even in just like the VIP line where it was like a meet and greet. We were just hanging backstage. And we were taken to the John Legend Educational Bus, which is where this awesome nonprofit group goes around the country. And I don't know if it's by scholarship or application, but basically some lucky students, some kids get to record and get music produced by the RZA. And I think other artists around the US as well do this. But anyway, so we get on this bus and it is so dope. There's just like a recording studio. There's a full drum kit. There's just like this really, really great setup for recording podcasts or interviews, etc. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And when Slice told me that, yes, we're going to make this happen, we're going to take you backstage, but also that I was going to get to interview him, I was like, wait, what? I thought he would be tired. Like, we were pretty tired, I'm not going to lie. Like, we're kind of early birds, but going after the show to be able to spend time, say hello even, was going to be great. So we got to see the bus, and then he took us over to the dressing room where just a ton of people were hanging out. You got to see Ghostface, you got to see Method Man, RZA walk by. Like, everyone was just kind of hanging out. The band members were walking by. I apologize, I don't have her name pulled up, but the amazing singer that was on stage. Just everybody was hanging out and super chill, super cool, and finally got to meet him, and he was actually really excited and said, oh, we're going to do this interview. We're definitely going to make this happen. And I was like, wait, what? So we go back to the bus after to do the interview, and I find out he wants to double up and not just be on my podcast, but that he was going to use the interview for Wu Wednesday, which I didn't know at the time because we don't have SiriusXM. But basically every Wednesday, he takes over LL Cool J's Rock the Bells and does like a Wu Wednesday for an hour programming where he interviews people and plays a bunch of amazing Wu-Tang music. So we set up for this interview, and the one you just saw, it was super exciting. I was really frustrated because my voice still sounds like what it sounds like now, not just from screaming at the concert. Yes, that happened, but as you all know, my listeners, I have allergies and it's just been tough to recover, but it was really exciting to be able to have that conversation with him, and I'm very hopeful that we'll have future conversations because I really feel we have more to talk about. But kind of jumping off of what Oscar said was, wow, he was so gracious. Like, I see what you're saying about how when I'm on, like at a con, like SDCC or something, and you're at a table and you're signing and you have to be high energy, but you're depleted. Like, first of all, he gave a lot at that concert and on stage. He was running around. He was in most of the songs and the acts, and he just didn't even really look tired. So hella qigong going on right there or something, but he didn't look tired. And you're so right. It was so incredibly inspiring to see how positive and how gracious he was and generous with his time, because not only did we do the interview, then his boy Will Strickland was there from back in the day. They did their interview, and then it was like 3 hours of just hanging out with the RZA on his bus, listening to unreleased music. So Oscar was there, kind of hanging in the corner as he does. And I'm sitting there basically next to the RZA and his wife and just listening to some really cool new beats that we hadn't heard before. And he was just so open about sharing stories from back in the day, and just told some really, really great old school Wu-Tang stories about how they were like kind of coming up and the struggles they went through. But really, honestly, like, I wish I had grabbed it, but the friends and family bracelet really felt like he treated us like friends and family, even though it was the first time we met him. And it really didn't seem like a front. It really didn't seem like he was just putting on airs or a show. He was super relaxed. We were all drinking water, and I think he got like an apple juice at some point. It was not this like wild behind the scenes thing that you expect from rock concerts or anything. It was just super chill and inspiring to be around somebody that, one, you respect because you love and are a fan of their music, but also really that epitomizes that kind of natural generosity and just like very, very humble and very down to earth. And I think one of the things I keep talking about was, after these 3 hours of hanging out with us, interview, post-show, he did his meet and greet with the VIP fans that bought that package. I'm sure he had to do all of that while we were kind of waiting in the bus. And we were leaving the bus. It was like almost 3 o'clock in the morning. His vehicle pulls up right next to the bus so he could just jump out and run off. And there's still fans waiting outside the bus, like hoping to get a glimpse of the RZA. And he took the time to go over, say hello, sign some autographs, take photos, even as I'm sure he was tired by this point. But like, I I thought, wow, that was so gracious. So to do that on top of spending all this time with us and just being really generous with his time, it was very inspiring.
Well said. I mean, the being able to sit back and watch you do the interview also, I thought you did a really great job with the how late it was and kind of on the spot having to do it. And of course, I'm biased, but I found it really interesting. And interesting also that the way he responded to questions was very thoughtful. So overall, very positive experience. As you know, not I don't know anyone else knows, but I don't really get too excited about things, and
Oscar doesn't get super excited about
I try to maintain my calm, but you know, you sit back and you sometimes reflect, like maybe not even in the moment. It's sometimes tough to enjoy things in the moment, which is something we can all improve on. But you look back and go, well, that was a very, very cool experience.
Yeah. I thought you were really digging the behind the scenes music stuff, like the unreleased music part, because you kind of could feel the process and how he didn't go through and like break down how we made things, but you could kind of feel where he was like, wow, I'm really feeling this beat, or I'm feeling this. And I thought that was, again, really trusting, because obviously we're not going to release any of that. We weren't even told not to or not share, but like there just felt like such a trust, even though we had just met. And I thought that was really cool too, because you hear about like comedian shows or different places that they're like, put your phones away, no recording. And he was like, absolutely. And shout out to Lennon, by the way, happens to be named Lennon, who was one of the kids, 19 years old, to me a kid, on the Lennon bus that was helping kind of conduct and get the tech equipment going, and also got me the footage for the interview. Thank you to Bryce, all of you guys that are part of that. I want to learn more about that educational tour bus, actually. I think the work is amazing, and so exciting to hear about that these kids get this opportunity to record with these amazing artists, but like just being open to giving me the interview footage as well, to use that and record as well, even though I had like kind of my B-roll. So I was really overwhelmed with the amount of trust, but the amount of like respect and just, hey, we're all just people. And like I said, just very, very humble, like truly a martial artist spirit.
Agreed. And also it seems like he also has a very patient and understanding family, which is nice.
Oh my gosh,
that's
I cannot
supportive.
speak highly enough. Yeah. So I met his son, I met his godson, and like everyone was there supporting, and then they kind of maybe wrapped up, but like his wife just sat there so beautifully calm and patient, and no eye rolling or like, wow, this is the, whatever number stop. Only 3 to the end, I think. I think it was just like 3 more concerts till they were finally wrapped and done after this really, really grueling schedule. And I mean, just super chill and kind of how you would be, I think, actually, as the, hey, you've got to go do your thing, and I'm just going to sit here patiently. I mean, I really wanted to be able to talk to her more, but like there was a lot of stories going around and a lot of interaction and music being played. But I was just super impressed with just that whole dynamic. It just shows that other side to the coin of like, here's a person that's on the stage, but also as a family unit, it tells a lot about a person and about the person they've chosen to spend their lives with. And so definitely surrounding yourself with people that to be just really good people. Like, these are good humans, and it was super cool to spend several hours. I know my cousins were super excited, and there's just a lot of fun stories that were shared too that you don't always get to hear about unless you're just in the moment. Is kind of these organic conversations that happen. And so that energy, and again, just, I don't know that I could be that energetic 3 hours after a show. And I mean, just recording after midnight for me was a stretch, but my adrenaline was pumping pretty hard. I was like, wow, this is really happening. So it's cool.
Yeah, I can't be that energetic before a show, during a show, or after a show. So props to all those involved. Yeah.
So anyways, we don't want to make this one too long. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation with the RZA. And if, I don't know, they said that's their final tour, but if you ever do get a chance to watch them live, like, or even individually, maybe it's not their final tour individually, but as a group, supposedly it's their final tour. But the energy was high, and I know there was a lot of special guests at some of those other tours, a lot of city stops, but I really don't know that we would have gotten so much FaceTime and so much hangout time with him had it been a different city. So shout out to Toronto and being able to kind of be there to have this amazing experience. Really grateful. And I think that this is one of the things that, again, reminds me that the world is small, and something like martial arts, traditional martial arts, something like music, can really bring people together in one room. It can really remind us that we are not so different and we don't have to be so divisive or separated. And just being in that concert together, like, we were meeting strangers, we saw people, but everyone was there for the love of, right? For the love of music and hip hop culture and Wu-Tang Clan and RTJ, and just being able to kind of bounce with everybody and just kind of feeling that energy is a little bit like the reminder of why you go to the movie theater, to share in the movie theater experience with complete strangers, laugh together, cry together, etc. And just like being at a concert is a great reminder. There are a lot of people, though, I gotta admit, I get a little bit agoraphobic sometimes, but honestly, it was such a great experience that I wouldn't have done it any other way. So just feeling super grateful, loving the Wu-Tang Clan and RTJ. Hope I get to talk to more of them in the future. Now that the RZA has given me his time, maybe I've got some podcaster cred.
That would be cool. I will be listening.
All right, let us know what you thought of the interview. Let me know if you have future questions, and I hopefully will be able to fit them in on future podcasts. But really glad to have been able to have this experience. I wasn't going to be so bold as to play some music in the background, but if you are on XM, we were like jamming out to a lot of the Wu-Tang beats. I think Cream was in the background. There's a lot of stuff happening throughout the episode, so get their music, do it the right way, support musicians, and yeah.